You wake up, work, scroll, eat, sleep, repeat. You wake up, work, scroll, eat, sleep, repeat. You wake up, work, scroll, eat, sleep, repeat. Is this all there is? Let's backtrack. You did everything right. College, job, new city. But now laptop opens, Slack pings, and Gmail explodes. You scroll past one life update another and wonder if you're the only one who feels stuck.
The world's housing market is hurting. We're living in a time of rapidly rising rent, tired out tenants.
In their latest report, UN scientists are warning we are on course for devastating changes to our climate.
CEO of an artificial intelligence company warns that AI is about to wipe out millions of jobs in the next few years, even calling it a bloodbath.
The world feels like it's ending, but you still have a 9 a.m. meeting. Should I quit my job, go to Thailand, learn AI, build a brand, study plumbing, get married, stay single, start a cult, run a marathon? Admission. I am 5 years into my quarter-life crisis. You are searching for an answer to get out of this, and I'm telling you that I'm 5 years into this, but please stay until the end of the video. Here's what nobody told us. Quarter-life crisis is not simply a breakdown. It's life's hidden invitation to authenticity. While you lay down in your bed at 2 a.m. and wonder why everybody else looks like they have their lives figured out, a LinkedIn survey found out that 75% of young adults between 25 to 33 actually reported to having experienced quarter-life crisis. Another amazing article correlated the marathon participations of 20-somethings to the increase in quarter-life crisis. So, you're not actually alone. Here's my hunch. What we are going through is early onset midlife crisis, triggered by the breakdown of the social contract, where we were supposed to exchange our aliveness with the promise of safety and stability. The contract was simple. The terms were set. Don't ask who you are. Suppress any of your interests and curiosities. Follow this one-size-fits-all education system, not to learn, but to win it. Major in the topic that market demands, get a good job, and we will reward you with safety and stability that you are searching for. I call this the game of safety, and the culture calls it being responsible, being ambitious, and being realistic. People who can't easily follow this map, they break down early. And the people who excel in this path break down eventually as well, because at some point they realize that the illusionary promise of safety and stability is not actually enough, considering the day-to-day anguish they feel just to suppress who they are. Until we break, we usually live on autopilot. We chase goals that we think we want, but never actually chose. Why? Because what we call personality is actually two things: protection and imitation. We become who we have to be to avoid pain, disappointment, shame, rejection, and who we thought we should be because everyone else seems to want that. We literally copy ambition like we copy trends. And then one day it hits quarter-life crisis. And we feel lost, stuck, misaligned, behind in life. But that's not a breakdown. That's the invitation to stop being a persona and instead being a unique person, not shaped by fears or mimicry, but what feels natural, alive, and honest. Scientists have identified 5 phases that we each go through during this mess. First one is caged, where you feel trapped in a life that looks right but feels wrong. Second stage is separates. You actually break away from what's not working. Third stage is listen. You create space to reflect and process. Fourth stage is explore. You experiment with new possibilities for your life. Last stage is rebuild. You integrate what you learned into an authentic life. You feel like you're living someone else's life, like you are performing for an invisible audience. This is when a major life commitment that you made does not feel right, but it is also something you don't feel like you can change realistically. You might be in a job that drains you. You might be in a city that doesn't inspire you anymore. You might be in a relationship that does not work anymore. You might have friends that you have outgrown. The result is a crippling sense of powerlessness. You keep telling yourself, I should be grateful, while your body whispers, this isn't it. But here is the most important message of early days of your quarter-life crisis. The exhaustion that you're feeling is not because you're doing too much. It's because you're trying to be someone that you are not, and pretending is costly. This is usually the work in the early stages of quarter-life crisis. Maybe not dramatic overhauls yet, but just a simple acknowledgement of trying to understand when you are pretending versus being. At this point in my quarter-life crisis, I had become an energy detective, where every activity that I do, every conversation that I had, I was just trying to observe what I was feeling and whether these things were giving me energy or were taking it out of me. Because as my mind said, this job is amazing. It will take you to places. My body was breaking down with an anxiety disorder that was impossible to deny. Your body keeps the score on when you are pretending versus being. Eventually, something breaks. You quit the job, end the relationship, move cities, or at minimum, stop lying to yourself about being happy. During this phase, I actually moved from Istanbul to Luxembourg to have some space to reflect on what just happened and start over in my life. It was a lot of changes, and I didn't know what was the plan anymore. Our culture and our brains are completely wired to see uncertainty as danger or simply failure, when it's actually the doorway into possibility. I stole this mantra from a book that I was reading at the time, and I kept on repeating it. I don't know what the hell is going on, and that's okay. Another important aspect of this phase is to differentiate between pain and suffering. Pain is regular results of losing an identity, and suffering is actually you making it so much harder because you resist it. And that suffering is actually optional. I saw a quote from a spiritual leader somewhere that said, the society had no space for my pain, so I couldn't find it as well. Don't do that. Find the space for your pain. Listen is the phase where I stopped freaking out about who I was and got curious. So my who am I feeling changed into I wonder, who am I? Although this is the phase where hope and curiosity comes back in, it's also one of the phases where our productivity-obsessed culture resists the most. You need time to reflect, you need time to explore, you have to detox from comparison to be able to hear your voice again. You have to create space for your shy, authentic self to finally feel safe enough to come out and whisper into you what they are actually interested in and who they are. So walking in nature, meditation, journaling, anything that helps you to hear your voice again would do. For me, the game changer was when I was in Luxembourg. There was this forest 20 minutes away from my house, so I would just go on walks there, and I finally started to hear something. It was telling me, you love to read, you love to write, but you're not doing any of them. What is your excuse? this journey of separating the shoots from your nature is the most important work that you can take upon in your 20s and 30s. And here's the even more craziest part I realized recently. When you stop playing the game of external metrics and titles and start playing a personal game, the game of trying to be more and more yourself, the comparison, okay, it's still there, but it fades. It fades in intensity because nobody else is you. If you're in Instagram and you're watching these reels of the couple that is in Bali and doing acro yoga, I want you to take a breath, okay? What is for you doesn't have to look like what is for others. And there is an immense freedom that comes when you find your own life that doesn't have to look like what other lives look like. In one of my favorite books that you have to read, it's called Pathless Path by Paul Millard. He says, I choose coming alive over getting ahead. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that's the best thing that we can do with our lives, to come alive. So don't keep the listen phase. Don't try to jump into another inauthentic job title or another inauthentic life that you have seen on Instagram screens. Find your own voice and find your own life that can only speak to you in silence, in rest, in play, in curiosity. I know what you think you have to do. You have to make one perfect decision that will make everything right again. You have to find that one perfect job title, that perfect friend group. But the real life transformation is not usually like that. Maybe the transformation you are searching for can only come through tiny experiments. I like to think tiny experiments as dating your future selves before you make a final commitment. You can test options while you do not burn your life down. Although if burning your life down is what you want to do, go ahead. It wasn't simply an available tool for me, economical and political realities of Turkey. But what I did is I experimented. So I experimented overall in that period with newsletters, hiking, courses so that I can see if I want to go back to grad school. I tried to shoot a video. I couldn't, so I stopped. I did a book club that didn't stick. I pondered whether I could become a breathwork teacher, and then I did a life coaching certificate course and then decided I didn't want to become a life coach at the age of 28. And finally, I left my corporate job and decided to become an humanitarian. And I moved from one of the quietest cities in Europe, Luxembourg, to one of the most chaotic places in the world, Cairo. And when I reflect back now, I realized that the decision to move from Luxembourg to Cairo was the first moment that I stopped playing the game of safety and I started playing a completely different game, the game of being more and more myself. One thing that is more important than you allowing yourself to experiment is that you allow yourself to fail at your experiment. Because whenever we took in a pursuit, the cultural reaction to evaluate this is whether you're good at it or bad at it, whether you're talented or not talented. But I want you to evaluate your experiments not by how much you're good at it, but whether they light you up or not. Do you like it? That's the only parameter that I want you to understand with your experiments. This is how you join the messy and imperfect life that is also kind of magical and unexpected. The biggest trap of your 20s isn't making the wrong choice. It's making no choice because you're completely paralyzed by the myth of the perfect path. This is what you have to understand. There is no perfect path. There is no perfect job, no perfect relationship, no perfect life that is waiting to be discovered. There is only the imperfect life that you have the courage to actually build. And when you accept this fact, this is when you move from the crushing weight of responsibility into the exciting field of responsibility. Responsibility is different from responsibility because it's not enforced by the cultures or any outside metrics. So after 2 years in Egypt, I decided to exercise my responsibility again, and I decided to take a career break. I moved back in with my parents, and I'm trying this Substack and YouTube thing where I'm talking about what really changed in me in the last 5 years and what really calls for me right now in this moment. I want to talk about the peculiar moment that we are in, where we were raised into a world that does not exist anymore. The social contract that we made is completely breaking, and there is no safety and stability left to cling anymore. And we were never taught how to navigate this space. Now, not only do we have to build lives that are authentic to ourselves, we have to also do it in a world that sounds like it's gone completely insane. In my career break, I'm reading books from politics to economy, from spirituality to psychology, to try to understand how did we get here and where do we go from here. The type of content that you might get from my channel is always rooted in how you can show up to life and how you can lead more meaningful and authentic lives, but not in isolation, but in conversation with the world. That's the responsibility that I chose to follow in this year. Here's what I want you to remember. This isn't a detour from your real life. This is your real life. Each stage of this process is as valuable as the other one. The last 5 years that I have spent going from one phase to another didn't feel like a timeout while I waited for my life to start. They felt as authentic and as alive as the moment that I'm recording this video. Please comment below what actually resonated most with you, because I would love to create more content on quarter life crisis and navigating 20s and 30s as I go through them. I'm also planning to create a guidebook with every tool and every book that I have read that helped going through the 5 phases of quarter life crisis. And if you think that's something that you might be interested in, please sign up for the waitlist that I have created while I work on the actual guide. And if you felt like this video helped in any capacity, please like, subscribe, and also send it to a friend who might actually feel a little bit less alone navigating this journey. Thank you for watching this video.